Hey guys, Tammy here. And this week I'm going to talk about defending yourself against your co-parent. Now, this has come up a lot the last couple weeks with a lot of my clients. So I feel like this is something that everybody really needs to hear. I'm going to give you the four most common mistakes I see when people start trying to defend themselves against their co-parent. And then I'm going to try to give you some solutions of like, okay, so therefore, what do we do about it, Tammy? Before we dive in, let me just remind you, if you like these videos, you find them helpful, please don't forget to hit like and also subscribe to the channel so you get notified when new videos are released. So many of us feel like we have to defend ourselves against our crazy co-parent. And I want to talk about this in the sense of kind of the day-to-day interaction of it, because I think that the court process is a little bit different, right? But this day-to-day interaction is kind of what flows into all the court things. And so if you're doing this part well, when it comes time that you have to go to court or that rears its ugly head, then you're going to be in a good position. You can't wait until somebody files something and then scramble to try to cover yourself and hope you've been doing it well, right? We have to do it well intentionally from the outset. The first thing I think that happens is people get to where they're just living in this defense mode all the time. Kind of it's like a tennis match and you're always getting ready to hit that ball back because you know it's coming. So you're constantly just waiting for the ball to come so that you can hit it back. And you're just living in that defense mode. And what that does is it gives this co-parent control of you. And I'm guessing if you're watching this, then it's probably a difficult co-parent, right? A high conflict co-parent, a toxic co-parent, a narcissistic co-parent, whatever it is that you personally are dealing with. When you start getting to the point where you're living in defense mode, it's because they have gotten into your thoughts, which subsequently allows them to manipulate your feelings, right? And then that subsequently affects your actions and your choices. So if I can keep you living in a defensive mode and keep you in fear, then you're going to be a lot easier for me to manipulate and control the situation. When you're not the one in control and you're reactive to the other parent, typically that will lead to people making the wrong choices or poor choices. Now, when I say wrong choices, I don't always necessarily mean something that's wrong like in our mind or that's wrong for our kids as the parent. But what I'm talking about here is wrong as in this is not what the court wants to see from people. That leads us to the next mistake, which is that we react too quickly. So not only do we often make the wrong choices, we also react too quickly. I get this a lot from clients. My high-level clients, that I allow them to text me, pretty much 24/7 when I'm working with somebody at that level. And so I will frequently get things from people that are like, this person just did this. Should I send back this? And it's like, no, take a deep breath. Let's figure out your game plan. Now, sometimes it's a simple message and you can just say, yeah, sure, that's fine. Send that back. No problem. But when we're really talking about a big issue or a difficult problem that you've been kind of wrestling with your co-parent with for a while, and they start doing things that are kind of becoming more aggressive towards you, sometimes that's even filing in court, or maybe their messages will get nastier, or they'll start putting the kids in the middle, or, they have all these different tactics that they use. And so when they start getting more aggressive, our fear and anxiety and stress gets higher and higher and higher. So we're desperate to solve the problem. We're desperate to solve the problem so that we can make the anxiety and the fear and the stress go away. But when you have that immediate reaction and you just go with your first gut instinct, it's usually emotion-based, and that is not the recipe for success in a child custody situation. If you pull up a message or something happens where you feel that flush in your body, that rush of blood, and your face gets hot and you can just feel that, your angry, or sometimes it's in the form of this knot in the pit of your stomach, or you just feel sick, like you're gonna just vomit, right? Like you can't handle the anxiety of all of it. Neither one of those places are good places to be trying to problem solve from. Because again, you don't have the logic in that moment. You are sitting deeply in your emotions, and it always takes a few minutes, if not a few hours, if not a couple days, to come back down from that, depending on your history with this person. We're living in defense mode and giving away our power. This usually leads us to make the wrong choices. Then we react too quickly to things. And then the last thing that happens is that we overthink everything. Yes, if that resonates with you, then I'm talking to you. And don't get me wrong, I am a chief overthinker sometimes. And, I've shared a lot about Thomas passing away and, this journey for me. And that's part of my issue right now, right? I want God to just tell me what the whole next rest of my life is going to look like, when I'm going to die, when it's all going to happen. And then I can be okay because I'll know what the plan is and I'll be like, okay, sure, let's do that. But that's not how life works. And so when we're dealing with a difficult co-parent like this, usually what's going on in our brain is we're trying to figure out, what are they up to? What are they trying to pull? What's their strategy? What are they trying to get me to do? What are they setting me up for? All these different things. You are actually empowering the other person by overthinking. And really, the solution to this is to get to the point where you're confident enough to where you go, you know what? Whatever it is, I'll handle it. Whatever comes up, I'll deal with it. And, if I could tell you there's any one thing that has gotten me through life, is just my ability to figure it out. It's like I've had my kids ask me questions before about different things, when I was going through the divorce, and then now with losing Thomas and all this. And it's like, what are we going to do? I don't know. We're going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out as I go. But if I waste all of my energy on trying to anticipate 5 steps ahead, then I'm robbing myself of my current joy. And I'm also completely draining my energy that's needed to make good decisions in the moment. I can't use my energy to make good decisions in the moment if all my energy is going to anticipating 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of what my ex is trying to do. Those are the 4 most common mistakes that I see. Now I'm going to give you 3, I think I have 3, 3 tips on how to solve these mistakes, right? 3 tips on how not to do this and not to defend against your co-parent in these ways. So the first thing, and I've said this a couple times, is you have to take back your power. Okay, great. How do I do that, Tammy? And the best way that you can take back your power is through boundaries. And I know we hear this word thrown around a lot. I talk about it a lot, but I don't think people always understand exactly what it means. The biggest form of a boundary is actually complete and utter disengagement. And I think most people see a boundary as pushing back on the other person. And a boundary for you is really, think of it in terms of, what do I need to do to create a happy, healthy environment for myself and for my children? What do I need to do? A lot of times the first step is just not even acknowledging the other person, not acknowledging their world, not acknowledging whatever they're trying to do. And I know you can't, you have children together, you're never going to be able to completely ignore that they exist. But I want you to get as close as you possibly can. Now, do you have to, sometimes draw boundaries and push back and all that? Sometimes. And I think that that's part of the art of learning how to deal with the co-parent through the messaging and interaction, is knowing when do I need to draw a line or push back a little bit, and when should I not? And I would say in the vast majority of cases, what I'm trying to get the client to do is to completely disengage. That's always the first line of defense. I don't care who I'm working with. That's almost always the thing that brings the most peace and the most results, is that initial line of disengagement when you figure out what that truly looks like. Because many people think that they're being factual, that they're not talking about emotions, that they're not engaging in those ways. And in reality, they are. Because again, when we're in our emotions, it's hard for us to have that level of discernment around, things like our children. Number 2 is you have to get educated around these issues and you have to get support. Now, here's what the education will do. The education will help you have a strategy. It will help you create a plan, because if you're trying to just react to things one at a time, one message at a time, one incident at a time, one court filing at a time, you're kind of all over the place and you don't really have that comprehensive strategy. So we want to develop a comprehensive strategy, because once you have that overall strategy and you kind of know what your path is in dealing with this person, then your day-to-day actions and reactions start to become natural because they'll fall in line with that strategy once you're educated enough on the issues to actually develop an effective strategy. Because sometimes our strategy is reacting or being emotional and all those things. And while that is a strategy, if that's how you're moving through it, it's not an effective one. And that's why I think the second part of this, the support, is so important, because it's really easy in these situations to feel very isolated. Because number one, when you're with a high conflict person, they've usually done things to try to isolate you. And that's where a lot of people are at. And having the people around you that are going through this at the same time, and that you can learn from their experiences and share their experiences and be able to, learn from each other and learn, what works and what didn't, what works in the courtroom, what works with different judges, what works with your co-parent, what works with dealing with the children. All these different pieces that somebody that's going through this right now, the same time as you are, can be of great help. And that's why I think my group coaching program is a great program full of a lot of moms that I really love. And I love their community and their support of each other. So I would encourage you to find that, and to, or you can always book a call with me if you want to learn about my program. But I would encourage you to find that somewhere, whether that's online or in your community, if you have local support groups or whatever. That can really be a lot of help in helping you stay in your logic and reasoning and having that sort of accountability partner that can keep you out of your emotions. The third thing that I would say is create a vision for your future. And I know for some people that might seem a little hokey, but I'm talking about your family vision. If you have children and you're co-parenting, surely your vision is not, okay, let me just, grit my teeth and bear it for the next, however many years that I have left to deal with this co-parent. You really want to be able to be happy and enjoy your life and enjoy your time with your kids, or, have a new partner and recreate a family, or whatever that vision is for you. Or maybe you want to take the extra time that you have now that your kids are gone part of the time to create the business you've always wanted, or whatever it is. And if you can latch on to that vision, that will push you through when things are hard. Because when we're focusing on them, then we are not focusing on ourselves. And again, we're giving away our power. So we're putting all of our time, focus, energy into them. And that's not motivating. That's not inspiring. That's not going to get you, out of bed and being a good parent and being present for your children and all those things every day if you're focused on how miserable your ex makes you. So you have to latch on to a future vision that gives you some hope. You have to think of something that you actually want to be able to move into creating that situation for yourself. And it doesn't mean you can do that in an hour or a day or a week or a month. Sometimes those things take months and months or years, that's possible. But the The months and the years are going to go by regardless. And if you don't have that vision, you're not going to be able to move yourself towards it. You're going to be sitting in the same miserable situation with your co-parent that you've been in. And I'm here to tell you that even when your kids are grown, there's still issues. I have grandbabies with my ex-husband. You know, we have weddings that happened. We have family events and things that come up where I still got to deal with him. And I don't want my thoughts of being at these family things to be me being miserable or him being miserable because we're both present. Now, I have to have good boundaries and I have to maintain that, but that doesn't mean that I can't walk into a place where he is, feel empowered, feel myself, and not have a problem with him being there. Again, that didn't happen overnight. That took a few years. I hope this episode's been helpful. Let me just recap for you the 3 things that will help you to avoid these common mistakes that I listed earlier. That is to draw your boundaries and disengage, get some education and support, and create a vision for your future. If you'd like to learn more about my coaching services, my VIP or my coaching programs, you can go to divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching. You can book a free strategy session with me there so that we can get you pointed in the right direction and I can share with you how I might be able to support you moving forward. Thanks for joining me.
We'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands.